Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take about 30 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders, business owners, to provide you some great Ironman mindsets to help you scale your business, to become a better leader and push yourself out of a comfort zone into something that's going to stretch you. We hope you really enjoy these shows and encourage you to like and share with your friends, your network, family members. Try and get a wider audience and improve our industry. On each show, I'm going to try and pull out one type of Ironman mindset, insight that you could take back to your business. And if you're implementing one insight every single week or all the shows, then it's going to make a dramatic improvement to your business. Super excited as well to share that we're partnering up with Boss Business Management Software, which is the ultimate cloud-based solution providing comprehensive insights and tools to optimize performance. Join the Boss community today and transform your business so you too can say, my boss is working for me. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. Really excited today to be joined by Ed Wright. Ed, great to see you again. I know you support our Thought Leaders Retreat and this year it's in Denver, so really appreciate that partnership there. But thanks for joining me on the show.
Yes, thanks. It's good to be with you.
So Ed, just for our various listeners all around the world, tell me a little bit about Ed and the Wright Manufacturing Company.
Sure. So I'm Ed Wright, the CEO of Wright Manufacturing. We are the predominant manufacturer of stand-on mowers specifically for commercial use. I think we're actually the only brand that only makes commercial mowers within the sector. My parents started a landscape maintenance business in the early 80s, and that evolved to the Velke Sulky, which was about productivity, getting more from the zero-turn hydro walk-behinds at the time. We had a grass catcher that we sold also. So that kind of got us into manufacturing. And also for a period of time, we were a software company. We had a software package that did billing, scheduling, and routing for landscape maintenance companies. It's one of the earliest software pieces out there that did that back when, as a kid, I remember packing the software. We put the copy on the 5 1/4 floppy disks.
Oh, yeah.
Binder manual, and you before the computers even had a hard disk on them. So that really gave us a lot of experience in understanding our own operations. But, we had a user base and annual conferences and this kind of thing. We really understood the operating model of a landscape maintenance company. The companies were divested and split up, allowing them to grow separately. And we focused on the mower side of it, which was taking the Velke riding behind the walk behind to standing on the mower. So in 97, we started making stand-on mowers. And today we make a full line of heavy duty, commercial machines that are targeted to low cost of ownership and high production.
No, that's awesome. I love what you were saying there. How you co-op with your customers, that they're obviously really important to you. But before we jump into that, I'd love to just know, again, for the audience, sort of the scale of your company. How many employees, how many mowers you produce a year, just to give people, scale, the size.
Yeah, to give a sense of it, we're just short of about 300 people right now. We've grown significantly in the past 5 to 7 years. So we're well over 2 to 3 times bigger than we were before. We make mowers round the clock 5 days a week, or 2 shifts a day, five days a week, and we build a mower about every 15 minutes, just to give a sense of scale. I think that if you talk about mowers that are in vocational use, probably around it's a little bit more than 1 in 10, but maybe around 1 out of 15 mowers in vocational use is a Wright mower. And I say vocational use because there's a lot of commercial mowers that are bought by somebody who has a 5-acre horse farm and they use that mower to cut, their property. But the types of folks that are involved with Wilson 360 are what I say vocational use, mowers being used to generate revenue.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. When you talk about co-oping with customers, I always like to ask why, and then what are some of your unique differentiators? Because obviously there's so many different mowers out there. The fact that you had a background, your family had a background in landscaping means you know that business intimately. Mm-hmm. So tell me some of that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's part of. I think most manufacturers, they're manufacturer first, and they make a product so that they have something to build. And I think we see it the other way around. We're in the lawnmower business, making mowers for landscape maintenance companies. The manufacturing is the enabling activity to be in the mower business. It comes secondary to making a great mower. And we also have a very grassroots approach. We started landscaping and then we made modifications to equipment, improvements to equipment in order to get higher production. So we developed from a grassroots model. And today we very much believe that our future is dependent on listening to our customers and that their grassroots feedback is really what drives us forwards. And then in terms of the co-op aspect of it is we are a for-profit business, but the mindset that we have is that our end customers are the ones that are creating value with our product. We exist for them. And when we're successful, our owners eat last, but we exist for our customers. Also, our suppliers or employees, but it's very much a customer-focused, product-focused business.
What type of mechanisms do you use? Because I find companies struggle to get have some type of a continuous loop of feedback from their customers, their clients, so that they can make improvements. Mm-hmm. Especially if there's several layers between, I suppose, the leadership or management of a company versus going through either dealerships or all these different layers. What sort of things do you use to help get that feedback?
Well, there's a number of things that are in play. One is that a product that's evolving faster is going to go through a generational update. Could be as short as 2 to 3 years. A product that's a very traditional category, something like maybe a walk-behind mower, that's going to be on a longer cycle. And then within those cycles, we look at things that are immediately known improvements that we can make, and we're going to make them on the fly. We don't wait for model year updates and that kind of thing. There are certain things where you can't change one thing without changing 10 other things. And so we queue up a punch list of feedback that we hear from our customers on those things. And then that's when we trigger a gen update. We understand that most of y'all don't like it when we change our product constantly, because in a fleet environment, you don't need model year updates where things are just changed for the sake of change. You have parts commonality. So we don't want to change more often, but we're also not going to delay any improvement. And this is a big challenge because a lot of companies, they don't have the ability to service the equipment if they change it constantly. We'll make 1,000 product changes a year, but part of doing that is we had to develop innovative software to do our parts lookup management so that we could handle those. You look up a part and you get an accurate part. Even if we changed, the cutter deck on Monday, then we made mowers on Tuesday, on Wednesday, we changed something with, the drive system, we're going to have your parts identified just for that build, that exact serial number. Now, in terms of layers of management, we definitely have at the top level a strategy of where we want to go with our products, a true north, and then breaking that down into activities and our KPIs towards what those product improvements are. Some of those get very, very specific. We get down the level of, okay, how many items are we going to take from feedback on our customers off Facebook? X number of those things that we hear on Facebook. By a certain point, we're going to have those turned into solutions. I came from the product engineering side of things, designing mowers for about 15 years. So I'm also not very far from the process. I'm in front of our customers. I'm in front of engineering on a daily basis, but it's also not entirely dependent on me. There's a process for it.
Do you think that's been one of the biggest drivers towards, you mentioned there about growing 2 or 3-fold in the last number of years. Is that one of the biggest drivers for that growth? I
think there's a few things that we can do to take credit for some of our growth, but I think there's also just the environment that we're in, I think has somewhat caused that growth as well. Right now, there, amongst many of the legacy lawnmower manufacturers, things that are frustrating end users or dealerships, because if dealers not carrying it, you can't get to it, can't have it serviced. A lot of them have very significant, quick, strategic changes. And, we have a phrase, constancy of purpose. So we've been doing the same thing for a long time in a continuous direction, making many small continuous improvements. And at some level, we just sort of outlasted some other people or other people's patience and slowly earned that credibility over time. So it's nothing that requires a lot of fanfare. It's just consistency. People want consistency and quality and improvements. And we have very good customer retention. Most of the folks that are running our equipment, we have the opportunity to work with them for a lifetime.
Yeah, I love what you said about just that small continuous improvements. You hear that even with different sports teams, just making the small incremental changes. And if you can keep that consistency there, then you're right, that's going to show up in your client retention list. Track more clients just from those referrals. One of the things you did mention, again, talking about customers, we've all heard the challenges. Every peer group or meeting I go to or meet with a client, there's always something around, I can't get enough employees. So production's a big deal. You're trying to just almost not necessarily eliminate the need for employees, but certainly if you could speed things up, maybe you can have 10, 50% less employees there. I know that's something that's big on your your mindset in terms of how do you improve production? So tell us about that a little bit.
So one of the targets that we have in our company is we think that in the primary life of a mower, because a mower is going to be used in its primary life, and then it'll go in the secondary market for 20 years. But in the primary life of that machine, it's going to cut 20,000 acres, and it's going to require about $115,000 in inputs: labor, fuel, maintenance, repairs, the purchase, the residual, all in. And so we're always asking ourselves, what can we do to reduce that cost per acre? And the labor is the biggest one. You can say, okay, labor is X cost, but really the bigger factor is if I could save 10% of my time, how much more can I do in the other 10%? So it's really a capacity increase more than it is a cost reduction. So productivity comes first and foremost. And when you look at a product and break that down, you're talking about things like larger fuel tanks. So you don't have to keep using portable tanks to refill the equipment throughout the day because that's killing your production. Bigger engines, the peak of spring, you really don't want your staff waiting for the engine to be chewing on the grass. The engine's what's doing the work. And the engine's going to set your pace of mowing. Bigger engines last longer and run cooler too. You're not going to burn that engine out as quickly. Ground speed, handling, maneuverability, equipment that's very versatile. Any job site is going to shine versus a piece of equipment that maybe is really good on this job and really not good on the other job. So versatility really comes into that. But it's all in the details, many small details of the equipment that help our customers just get a little bit more out of it. And then on the reliability or uptime side of it, we've done things like successfully eliminated grease fittings. Over the primary life of a mower, it'll cost somewhere around $600 to grease that mower. And that's mostly time, a little bit of its materials. But if we have a machine that doesn't have to get greased weekly, then it doesn't have to come out of the trailer Friday afternoon. And that's another hour of production, or however you do your maintenance operations. Those numbers add up into real constraints. And that really helps the labor. We think the next generation of this labor improvement is automation, which is, we have our nose in it. We understand that. We've been in it for a couple of years, but adoption is going to be challenging, especially when you get into more complicated sites.
Yeah, and that's something that it's funny how our industry tends to, almost like that wait and see approach, where new technology, automation, other people are sitting on the sidelines watching other people do the experimenting. So where does Wright sit in terms of, either releasing or, I don't know, I share too many secrets, but any thoughts on what that looks like in the future for Wright?
Yeah, so let me just give you a background going back a couple of years. We created a partnership with Greensy. Greensy is a software development company that has software and a client relationship around the productivity and the app, everything that's in there. And that software drives the mower, basically, right? So we have a partnership with them where we build the machine. Our dealers have all the parts and support and training and whatnot. And that began some years ago. We've had field units out for about 3 years now. And so it is now a product where you could walk into a dealership and buy one. And so it's our most popular, most perfected, larger stand-on machine. If you're going to put automation on something, you want to take down acreage, it's going to be a bigger machine. 72-inch deck, 40 horsepower. The machine's 6 foot long, 6 foot wide, very compact, but a lot of mowing capability there. We can get about 13 hours of runtime out of it. You're talking about where somebody's doing wide area mowing. It really, really shines. So it is a product that is available. We've got a number of people doing very interesting things with them. It's interesting when you bring a product to market, the wide variety of assumptions or applications that go into it. But predominantly, a lot of it's site-based mowing versus mobile mowing, right? It's all about the sequencing of work, because if you're on a site for 30 minutes and you're packing up and moving to the next site, it's harder to align those different activities between the automated portion and the manual portion. But if you're at a large site or campus and you've got people there a couple days a week or all day, now you can pipeline those activities and handle that autonomous mower as a coworker. And the premise is that you mow your perimeter pass and that records your boundary and it mows the inside of it. And in there, you can set your stripe angle and all the other features. You can save it. You can come back next week and cut it 90 degrees to the stripes of last week, whatever. So it's out there and it's amazing what it does. There's a lot of people that, they'll come up with every objection they can think of, which is a very valid exercise. But to me, I go home on Friday and I pull the mower out of the garage and hit go. And an hour later, my couple acres are cut. And it's to me, it's obvious that this is the future to me.
And where do you see it going over the next 2 or 3 years? I mean, wider adoption, or is it being some issues? I've heard some challenges with other manufacturers, just maybe not that they're not able to keep up with the demand, or where do you see things progressing over the next 2 or 3 years?
Well, starting with autonomy and then moving to traditional mowers, I think the autonomous mowers, when you're talking about mowers with larger horsepower and wider decks on them, I think in 10 years, it's going to be the predominant way that type of mowing is done. And I think, and there's a reason why we're making gas mowers with autonomy right now. And that's because the runtime, with 13 hours of runtime, that's the kind of site people are doing this for. They're doing it to make money. I think what we'll see is an evolution where a lot more autonomy is bolted to electric, because frankly, it's easier to make an electric autonomous mower than it is gas one. Autonomously, then nobody needs us as a maintenance provider. But what it is, it's a specialty, and it allows you to offer your services for less. As I've said, is if our entire industry all had Craftsman lawn tractors, it would be a harder proposition for the commercial company, because you're on the same level field with somebody who bought a budget piece of equipment. But right. It's the specialization and performance of equipment that allows a commercial advantage for somebody to have a contractor come and do that apartment complex or whatever than them trying to do it themselves. In terms of just overall capacity, through the supply chain related issues we had over the past couple of years, when everybody was moving back home or they were moving further out into the suburbs, that triggered a massive amount of lawnmower purchases in the consumer and prosumer categories. And we work with the same supplier base. The same people make the carburetors for those machines, make them for our machines, whether it be tires or switches or whatever. So there was this massive spike that created that, and international trade issues created a constraint on the commercial business. But I think at the same time, every commercial company out there, thought that they got market share because they couldn't keep up with demand. And now everybody's overproduced. And so right now we're in the mid-cycle of overproduction getting rebalanced. Now, it doesn't mean that everything's available. Everybody built everything they could, which means that in terms of the engine type, model type, deck size, all that kind of stuff, there can still be stuff that you can't get, but there's too much of the stuff that you don't need. So there's probably another year in the system of digesting that and getting it
right.
Getting the rope tight again.
Yeah, when you talk about the software related to the autonomous mowers, that's also, I think, the landscape owner needs to think about who are the people he or she are hiring to run those autonomous mowers. Are they more sort of tech savvy, computer geeks that will run those mowers, or is it the traditional landscaper, or is it training? So I think things are definitely going to change over time.
Greensy's been really good about trying to make it easy to use. Like, you don't need to use app, and you don't need to actually read anything to use the machine. Like, out of the box, you take the remote, sling it over your shoulder, press the record button, mow your perimeter pass, light goes solid, you press the mow on the remote, and you're off and going.
That's easy. That's awesome.
Now you can open up the app, and even then they've made a point of making it very simple. You put a star on that little perimeter you can see, and that sets it as your favorite. You don't have to name it if you don't want. You go in there and press a little arrow to change your stripe angle to east-west. So anybody who uses an app for anything in today's day and age can very well pick up how to use this mower. And for a younger generation of employees, I think it's actually maybe a lot easier than trying to teach somebody to drive a perfectly straight line for 300 yards.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people can't drive a straight line until they've been using a mower for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Coming down to the last question or two here. One of the things we mentioned before, just in terms of about you leading the company, you obviously have that great relationship with your customers. You're listening to them. You're trying to figure out ways. You're creating that partnership, but you're also in realizing the importance of internally, how do I improve my team? How can I improve as a company? How can I lead my team? And it sounds like you've used different variations of lean. You try to figure out what's the best way I can reduce cost and be more productive internally. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've been on what we call our lean journey for quite a while. 25 years, I think it's been. And through high school, I worked in the factory. So that's sort of, I welded for a couple summers, did final assembly for a while, those kinds of things. And so in my youngest years, I was introduced to lean manufacturing. And that was when we went from a batch processor, and it was going to kill us if we didn't do this. So at some level it was out of survival to become lean. A lot of people think that lean just means that you take out inventory. But really, I think, because we've used every tool in the book, some of them successfully, and we failed at most of them. But I think that's, to be honest, part of the process. I think over the years, what we've become to really understand more so is that what lean is about creating systems and processes that surface and expose problems. So you have an environment of stability, and you have systems and processes that expose those constraints, and you have a problem-solving system, a systematic way about your strategy deployment and your training and your people capability and how you solve problems one by one in small incremental and a root cause level, because you don't want whack-a-mole. And what that process will eventually lead you to is lean, which is the reduction of inventory. And inventory is one of the greatest wastes or incomplete work. Because in landscaping, it's hard to call it necessarily inventory. But if you look at work that's in limbo or partly complete, whether it's within a job cycle or over several visits to a job, you really don't want that incomplete work hanging out there, because that's where all the problems are generated. So you arrive at lean, but it's really about systems and processes that service and expose problems and the one by one problem solving to get there.
No, I think that's so true. And just to have that continuous evaluation and look at ways of improving, I think that's really powerful. If any of the listeners are interested in learning more about you, your company, your products, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. And anyone can reach me at edw@wrightmfg.com. Shoot me an email. We can get in touch and talk. I'm at most of the shows and that kind of thing as well. So you can usually find me at those types of places. Sometimes you can catch me on social media, but I found that it's hard for me to bring as much value to the company and our customers if I spend too much time there. So it's hard to count on me on that side of it, but I do try to make myself available there. And email's best way. And also, if anyone is looking at specifically procuring equipment, certainly you can touch base with me. We have someone that's specifically focused on fleet-related activity, because if you're operating a fleet, it becomes a complex relationship, because you might be in 5 or 10 different dealerships. You want a consistent experience, those kinds of things. And so we have someone who can really help coordinate that has a lot of experience with working with that environment.
Well, I know people can go to your website. They can come and see you at the Thought Leader Retreat in Denver, coming up really quickly.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, we really enjoy it, and it's great to see some great partners there and great clients come along to it. So, Ed, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for sharing the story about you, the future of the industry, producing some great products, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and you got some great Ironman mindset takeaways for your business or your leadership role. This is Robert Clickybeard. Love to get you, your friends, your employees to join us in our future journey. So please subscribe to your various podcast channels. Visit our website, commerciallandscaper.com or wilson-360.com. You could check out our digital courses. You could check out peer groups, coaching, my book, Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs. And we just want you to have a pure, dead, brilliant day. And finally, thanks again to Boss Business Management Software, which is the ultimate cloud-based solution providing comprehensive insights and tools to optimize performance. Join the Boss community today and transform your business so you too can say, my boss is working for me. Cheers, everyone.